Thank you for joining Wars of the Roses. And in this video, we're going to be discussing biblical cosmogony, taken from the Student's Monthly Letter by Manly P. Hall, May 1937. Biblical cosmogony. The cosmogony of the Jews is derived directly from the Chaldean and Egyptian. This has been proved beyond any question of doubt by the discovery of cuneiform tablets, much older than the Jewish Bible, which contain many of the stories set forth in the opening chapters of Genesis. It is quite possible that the Old Testament originally contained a much more amplified account of the creation, but certainly it is still possible to make much more of the book of Genesis than the average churchman has accomplished. With the aid of the Jewish and Kabbalistic commentaries, Genesis is amplified into a rational account of the beginning of the universe, far more vital, significant, and impressive than the accepted theological version. A great scholar observed in the last century that Christian theology, and of course he included Jewish cosmogony, was the only system believed by the more advanced races of the earth to insist that God made the universe out of nothing. The gods. The book of Genesis opens with a simple and dramatic statement, which has been anglicized into the most impressive sentence in English literature. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. This verse apparently presents no problem, but the more a searching student thinks about it, the more fully he will realize that into 10 words has been comprised a cosmic process involving hundreds of millions of years of time and innumerable complicated mysteries. Only an elaborate commentary can make this verse even partly intelligible to the human mind entirely ignorant of divine and cosmic procedures. We must first define the word God as it is used in this case and throughout the first chapter of the Bible. The word in Hebrew is not God or Jah or Jehovah, but Elohim. God is a reverent but entirely insufficient word to convey the true meaning of Elohim. Most important to be considered are two facts. First, in Hebrew, Elohim is an androgynous term, inferring a combination of male and female attributes. Second, the word by its termination is plural. Actually, therefore, the word Elohim means the male-female creators, representing a host or at least a group of powers and not, under any circumstance, a single personal entity. The words heaven and earth are also misleading through inadequate translation. By heaven and earth should be understood a superior and inferior condition, a separation of qualities, not a division of place. The average reader will think of heaven as the firmament and the earth as the planet, and this interpretation will destroy entirely the significance of the verse. It would be better to interpret heaven and earth as spirit and matter, or the subtle and the gross, in the sense of vibration or qualities of life and vitality. The words in the beginning also present difficulties. The wise student will interpret them as from that which is first, or in eternal principles, or that which was in the beginning. This leaves only the word created, and here again misunderstanding is almost inevitable. The human mind always thinks of creation as the marking of something that is new. If we think, however, we will realize that in creating any physical thing, creation is only a new pattern made up of already existing factors. Thus, if a man creates a picture, he does so with the aid of paints and brushes and canvas. The true creation being the inward inspiration which applies these instruments for the release of an idea. Creation in this verse implies rather formation or manifestation, the rearrangement of ever-existing elements into new patterns to be the vehicles of purpose. With these thoughts in mind, let us read again the verse according to a fuller understanding of its meaning. From the eternal principles and essences, the androgynous creator gods, manifested forth the positive and negative aspects of being. Having thus clarified our interpretation, we can bring to bear upon it such commentary matter from ancient Jewish beliefs as will reveal the full significance of the verse. The Jewish mystics recognized an internal, definitionless principle which they denominated Ein Sof, the boundless. From the Egyptians, they derived the teaching that this boundless one possessed three intrinsic aspects or attributes: being, life, and light. These three as one, and that one formless, ageless, and changeless, was the true God, whose most perfect symbol was space, the source and ultimate of all things. Periodically, according to great cycles, space caused to emerge from its own nature. Primordial unity, the objectification of being, life, and light. The first manifestation was called the opened eye and was designated by the Kabbalists as Kether, the crown of the eternal glory. Ein Sof, the absolute, was the life in suspension. Kether, the firstborn of the absolute, was life in expression. Within the nature of Kether was manifested polarity, which is the foundation of activity. The polarities were called Abba, the father, and Ama, the mother. Abba was the positive manifestation of spirit as force, energy, and power. Ama was the negative manifestation of spirit as matter, substance, and receptivity. From the union of Abba and Ama, that is, energy and substance, was produced form. According to the Kabbalists, the Elohim, or the creator gods, were the progeny of the union of life and matter. It was the Elohim in turn, moving in space, who brought forth the mundane universe over which they ruled. By mundane is meant not the physical worlds, but the metaphysical system of which the physical creation is the lowest or seventh part. The first manifestation or agitation was equivalent to the concept of the universe in all its parts, or like the planting of a seed from which was to grow the worlds. It is the first motion in the absolute. The comparisons in other religious systems checks and justifies the speculations of the Jewish mystics. In the northern Tibetan system, the meditations of Adi, Buddha, universal consciousness, produces the 7 dhyani Buddhas, or the 7 modes of consciousness by which the world is formed. The teaching of the Persians, the supreme nature, Ahura Mazda, manifests the Amashasvinta, who become the formatters of the lower worlds. In the Egyptian Hermetic teachings, the Elohim are the governors, the cosmocrats. In the ancient Egyptian system, they were the Ammonian artificers, the servants of Ptah, who fashions the egg of the universe upon a potter's wheel. The Elohim are also the 7 Kabiri of Samothrace, the 7 rays upon the golden crown of the Gnostic lion, the sacred 7, the unwritten vows, which together make up the name of the manifested divinity, the 7 colors of the spectrum, the 7 days of creation, the 7 seals of revelation. The eternally reoccurring septenary by which art, music, and physics are bound together are the Elohim, the 7 breaths that move upon the deep. The formation of the worlds. The 2nd verse of Genesis states, "And the earth was without form, and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters." Interpreted according to the mystical tradition, this would read, "And the below, the passive aspect of being, was formless and devoid of manifested life, and the darkness or oblivion filled the whole expanse. The spirits of Elohim moved impregnated and enlivened the essences of the negative principle. In some of the Hindu works, this motion of the Elohim is referred to as the curdling of space into the worlds, the 7 modes of intelligence, which are the personification of the 7 laws of nature, which are in turn the 7 wills of the spirit, begin to manifest patterns. They were first in the nature of vortices, called in the Sephir Yetzirah the whirlwinds. One form of this theogonic myth declares that the universe was created by the deity speaking the sacred word. Of course, the word was made up of 7 vowels of the Elohim, which together are the fiat which issues as a host of living powers from the lips of the Creator. In the North Asiatic tradition, the 7 sons of the Eternal established their foundations in the deep, seated in the 6 directions of space. 6 of the builders turn upon the 7th, who is placed in the center and is called the immovable. In the Kabbalah, the center is called the Holy Temple, the Sabbath of eternal rest, around which moves the 6 days of creation. In the Kabbalah, the higher powers do not descend into the lower elements to ensoul the mundane diffusion, but rather cast their shadows upon the deep or the lower elements. In the teachings of Brahmanism, we have a somewhat similar statement. The meditating Dhyani Buddhas dream themselves into the illusion of matter, causing a certain part of their own consciousness to assume the illusion of existence, though even meditating above it. The shadows of Elohim, descending into the depths of matter, result in the formation of 4 levels or planes of illusion, which the old Jewish philosophers call worlds. These planes correspond roughly to the levels of spirit, mind, soul, and body in man. Each of the 4 worlds, the 7 Elohim, are reflected, to become in all 28, which cause them to be associated in symbolism with the lunar month and its 4 weeks of 7 days. The ancient Jewish priests had particular veneration for the moons, their faith being a lunar cult. Only the lowest part of the 4 worlds was involved in the physical creation. This lower or 4th world was made up of 7 parts or planes, the shadows of the 7 Elohim. Of the 7 planes which make up the mundane sphere, 6 are superphysical and 1 is physical, the lowest. The 6 superphysical are called causal and are the source of the energies and patterns which manifest or flow into and through the 7th. The 7th and lowest diffusion of the 4th world is that which the creation story in Genesis is concerned. The unfoldment of this physical plane is according to the pattern commonly known as the Chaldean system of cosmogony. In the cosmogony of the Greeks, the material universe is brought into being by 7 gods, each of whom rules over one of the 7 parts of the mundane diffusion. In the Greek system, the gods are Phanes, Uranus, Cronus, Rhea, Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades. The mundane world consists of 7 interpenetrating spheres, of which 6 are superphysical and the lowest or 7th is physical. According to this system, the 7th or physical plane is ruled over by Hades, the subterranean god, to symbolize the physical plane as being the furthest removed from the divine energy. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and comment. And if you can, please consider donating to Wars of the Rosies. Links to PayPal and Patreon are in the description. Thank you very much.